Welcome. Rocky View Schools would like to acknowledge the land and recognize all the Indigenous peoples whose footprints have marked these lands from time immemorial. Together, we can learn and honor the ways of knowing of Indigenous peoples for all future generations. Welcome, everybody. My name is Barb Holden, and I am the Acting Divisional Principal of Learning Services. It's my honor and my privilege to be working with Rocky View Schools to support the continuity of learning for students in RVS. Our current challenges, and we're going to reframe those as opportunities, include those related to the pandemic. RVS online learning has offered a way forward for many families. The approach to online classes for students in Rocky View is unique. Students remain connected to their home schools and, as much as possible, are placed in online classes with other students they already know who will also attend the same school post-COVID. They will also have classmates from other schools in Rocky View, so lots of opportunities for connections. Families will continue to receive communications such as school newsletters and will be in the loop around upcoming events. Those students and families who will be transitioning from an elementary to a middle school or a middle school to a high school, for example, will be involved in informations through their home school. These connections are important, especially in middle school, where student connections within their school communities is crucial. We know those relationships make a difference and impact how students are able to do academically, how they're able to connect to and develop their own passions and interests to really learn, dig into who they are, and how they interact with others in a changing world. Middle school students are at a pivotal and fascinating stage of development, and shifting to online learning because of a pandemic, well, it's not all bad. In a recent conversation with an online teacher, I asked her about her students and in particular about their learning and what was she seeing. Her answer: the opportunity that parents have to observe and be involved in their child's learning is making such a difference. She shared that she sees students who are making progress that equals the progress she would have expected to see in the classroom, and also sees that in some cases, students were actually doing better than she would have expected them to see. Never before have parents had the opportunity to really understand their children as learners and to really see what students are doing and understand those next steps for learning. We've always wanted to, we know we have since they were in kindergarten, wanted to be able to lift the lid off the schoolhouse and really watch who our kids are when we're not there. And we are able to do that now, to watch them as learners and better support them because of it. I am aware I'm speaking to families who have all experienced emergency learning, sometimes referred to as temporary remote learning. Parents will notice that RVS online learning is comprehensive in comparison. The program of studies is addressed with assessment entered into PowerSchool in the same way it has been from September 2020 through to February 2021. Just a heads up for families, there may be some overlap as students shift from face-to-face classes to online learning. We had a little conversation about that in the elementary session that we just left. Teachers are aware this will happen and will adjust accordingly. Sometimes that means students have an opportunity to extend their learning, and there's always opportunity to share learning. Just as when students change schools, that sometimes does happen. Of course, with the expectation that relationships as well as academics are at the very least maintained, the importance of attending live or synchronous sessions is highlighted. It's really important to make sure that everyone is attending those. We know that our shared desire is that our students not only survive this pandemic, but actually thrive. And your attendance here demonstrates your willingness to partner in this endeavor. On behalf of Rocky View Schools, thank you for the privilege of taking this journey with your family. Some important introductions for our webinar. You will have the opportunity to hear from online teachers this evening, Rob Garvey and Erin Hymas. Our hosts include Sarah Martin, who is running the webinar. Sarah is a learning specialist through Rocky View Schools, and we thank her for taking our new middle school students through their orientations at the schools this week. That was a lot of Zooming. Asia Ko, Alicia Hakaluk, and Allison Turner have done an outstanding job of supporting teachers and students in middle school and are now also working with high schools. With approximately 3,000 students in online classes across RVS, I can tell you they are very much appreciated for the work they do. And I'm going to turn it over to the team.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the types of learning that students will be participating in. So students will have at least 2 live sessions a day. These sessions may be whole group, small group, or individual one-on-one sessions with their teacher. Students will also have learning tasks that occur when they are not online with their peers or their teacher. Just so that you're aware, the language that we use for online learning is synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous learning is when your child is in a live session with their teacher, as well as their peers, and asynchronous is when they are completing individual coursework. So the makeup of the teachers is that grades 5 and 6 students will have 1 teacher who teaches them all subjects. Grade 7 and 8 students will have either 1 or 2 teachers, depending on what school they're at. And our grade 9 teachers will have multiple teachers for all of their subjects. However, your child will have 1 homeroom teacher who is your main point of contact.
Hi, everyone. So what to expect for your first week? It's going to be a change for your kiddos and yourselves. But I think for the first week, it's really all about getting to know each other, your classmates, getting to know your teachers, and really, really focusing on building relationships. There's going to be some hiccups next week, and that's okay. It's going to take some time, but I think, again, Sarah's done some great job onboarding, and I think a lot of students have logged in and we've kind of gone through the troubleshooting. Focus on logging into Zoom. You could even do a couple practice sessions with Zoom so that feels comfortable. Try and give yourself grace, be patient and flexible. It takes time, but you will get there, I promise. Reach out to the teacher if you are if you need some support or if you have any questions. They're more than happy to answer your questions. If you're having any tech questions, we do ask that you can reach out to that email, studentsupport@rockyview.ab.ca. They'll try and get back to you as fast as they can, or families can call that phone number. So again, if you're having any kind of technical aspects, not logging in, and there's just some issues there, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to help you out. Some feedback we've gotten from teachers, when you do log on to your synchronous sessions, something we encourage you to do is have your cameras on, just like this. It's nice when teachers can see your face and when your classmates can see each other also. And do ask questions and try to get to know your classmates. But again, give yourself grace. It's going to take time, but we promise you, you'll get there.
Hi, everybody. So one thing to just keep in mind as you head into that first week is that it does take time for new habits and routines to develop. So like Ali was saying, give yourself and your kids a little bit of grace and allow time and room for mistakes and hiccups. Some feedback that we've gotten from some teachers in terms of in the first week, what seemed to really work well for a lot of families is just establishing that daily schedule and sticking to it right off the bat. Using checklists to keep track of your kids' tasks and assignments, and just getting in the habit of using the designated workspace right away every time your child is settling down to get to work in that same spot. That's going to just help them adapt to that new routine of at-home learning. And like we said, there will be some technology hiccups. Not all the tech tools are going to be new to your child, but some of them will be. And sometimes that can be a little bit stressful when you're trying to learn something new. So just remind your child to be patient with themselves and remind them that their teacher is there to help and to reach out anytime they need it. That's me again. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about attendance. Attendance is taken twice a day during synchronous sessions. So those are those sessions that are live where your child is on Zoom with their peers and their teacher. That's Monday to Thursday. It's taken twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. On Fridays, they just do attendance once in the morning. Teacher schedules, which include the times and the days of those scheduled synchronous sessions, those are all shared with families as part of the week at a glance, or the daily schedule, which is sent out each week prior to the first class every Monday morning. And just one thing to note, that attendance is not just about being present for the whole class synchronous session, but it's also about being available throughout the day for other school-based activities that your child might be asked to engage in, even if they're not on Zoom or in a synchronous session. Families are encouraged to schedule any extracurricular activities outside of school hours where possible. And if your child is going to be away for any reason, the best thing to do is to just send an email to their teachers directly. I know normally your routine would be to contact your child's homeschool and leave a message that they're going to be absent. With our online learning, we ask that you contact your child's teacher directly through email, letting them know about the absence.
So your child is likely already familiar with Zoom from emergency learning in the spring. So Zoom is going to be the main platform used for meeting times. So again, we've previously given some tips around that, like logging in early, turning your camera on, encouraging your child to be engaged that way. The Zoom link to these sessions are also sent out in the week at a glance that you'll receive every week. And these are also posted on the teacher's Moodle homepage. So I'm just going to show you some examples of these Moodle homepages. So this is a grade 5 Moodle homepage. So here you can see there's the homeroom with all of the different subjects. And on this homepage is where you find things like daily plans, checklists to keep you on track, as well as these Zoom sessions. Again, you can see there's whole class, small group, and drop-ins. And then this is an example of a grade 7, a middle school Moodle shell. So again, you can see where to access all of these different courses, the Zoom links, and the times that the teachers are available. So again, it will take time to get to learn this new platform, but students have certainly found a lot of success with it.
So a piece of advice because questions we've had is, so how do I know what my child's handed in? What do they need to finish? We encourage you to check Moodle. Parents have guest access on it, so you don't have kind of your own login. So one thing we encourage you to do is to even sit down with your child and have them walk you through what they've finished and what they have handed in. Because sometimes they might say, oh, I've submitted it, but maybe the attachment wasn't on it, or maybe it wasn't fully complete. So something a habit to do that I do with my own kiddos is I go, okay, what are you working on right now? And I sit beside them and I have them show me what it is they're currently working on, or what they have finished, and they can tell me, what did you learn? And you can have those conversations with them to ask them a little bit about it. So kind of think of the Moodle shell as their binder. It's this digital form now. So again, sit down with them, have conversations. You can ask them questions and really kind of see what they're learning about. So we encourage you to check that out. Students will be, during the first couple of weeks with their teachers, will be coached on different ways to store their learning in Google. And so again, we encourage them to reach out if you have any questions on what that looks like. Their teachers are there to help, absolutely. And just to kind of stay in the loop with your kiddos by having those conversations so you know what's going on.
All right, so one of the best ways to help your child when they're transitioning into online learning is to help set up a learning space that's their place to learn. So this could include things like new, or maybe not necessarily new, but proper chairs, seating, desks, a quiet location that can be their space for learning. And you can do this in a couple different ways. One of the ways you can do this is make sure you have some easily accessible school supplies with them. So things like paper, pens, pencils, maybe some of the stuff that they would traditionally have in their backpack with them when they're at school. To help with learning spaces, minimizing distractions is probably one of the key things that can help students when they're transitioning into online. So if they're working, try to avoid having them in areas where there's a lot of people around, where they may be expected to look after siblings while they're on Zoom, around pets. Uh, being one of the middle school teachers, not having easy access to video games. That might be ways to help them make sure that they're focusing and they're in a learning space that doesn't have as many distractions. And some other tips you could use with this is having things like headphones that maybe have a mic on them that help limit the background noise. But if they're also using a device such as a tablet or a computer, it also minimizes the background noise in their house or in their learning space to going on to Zoom. And then there's going to be different tools that students will have access to in the coming weeks, such as for math. Students will have access to math manipulatives from their home schools that they'll be able to pick up when those are available, so that they'll have them available for when they're working offline. And one of the big things that can help, and this may not always be possible depending on different situations, is try to avoid having shared devices, especially with siblings that may have multiple people in the household working online. If you're able to have a device that is their own device that they're able to work on or connect to Zoom on, that can go a long way to help creating a learning space or a learning environment to help kids succeed while they are online. So one of the big things that in talking with families and students that have been online since the fall is routines become a very, very big part of it. So one of the main suggestions is try to keep a daily schedule very similar as to what it may be in school. So if your morning Zoom session starts at 9 o'clock, say for example, maybe you're up, showered, and dressed at 8:30 so that you're ready to go at 9, so you're not late, you're not missing anything. But a lot of teachers will also have Zoom classes open 10-15 minutes beforehand for kids to come in early. They can get help and start connecting with their peers and building those types of connections and relationships. Throughout the day, one of the important things to have is a set schedule. And this doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, in the morning you're going to do 4 hours of math. That's not realistic. Not many 12, 13, 14-year-olds are going to want to do 4 hours of math. But having, say, you know what, from in this 35-minute block, we'll focus on math, and we'll take a 15-minute break. Then say for another 35 minutes back to math or another subject, just to try and keep the structure in place that they may have in school. That's kind of one of the big challenges for some students, is that when they don't have the structure in school, the transition can be a little difficult. With that said, as others have mentioned before, try to minimize distractions from the time that the student would maybe typically be in school. So it creates a learning environment where it's very similar to school, and they're not maybe run into any difficulties that might come from that. Just other couple kind of key points before I pass off. Breaks are really, really important, whether it's going and getting a light snack, going outside, getting some time off screen. Working in breaks into any schedules or routine is really, really important. And one final thing is that while online material is always accessible during the day, regardless of the time, day off, I really encourage people that when you're building those routines, try not to make school an all-day thing for kids, because that may turn them off and make school seem like a chore that could stretch out all day long. So if you can, in your routines that you're building with your kids, try to have set it up as school, so that say from 9:30 to 3:30, that's the school time. After that, doesn't necessarily have to be school.
Hi, everyone. So since effective communication is key for success online, we have some tips for you to consider. One of these is to take a look at the week at a glance together. This is a great opportunity to get your child excited about what they might be learning in the week ahead, and also to sort of give you a read on any topics that your child might be feeling uncertain about, and you could possibly use that as an opportunity to encourage them to connect with their classroom teacher or seek some extra support. So drop-in time, that's been mentioned before, is a great opportunity for your child to ask any questions that they might have. And it's also an opportunity just to continue building that relationship with their teacher online, even if it's just to kind of pop in to say hello. We want to make sure we're supporting our students' success by reviewing their work with them regularly. So this could look like asking them specific questions like, what challenge did you overcome today? What are you most proud of from today? Or looking for that specific evidence to make sure the work is completed. So if your child tells you they completed their journal, you could be like, hey, can you show me that journal that you finished? Just to have that specific evidence that's been mentioned to help your child stay on track of completing their assignments. It's also important to remember that students are successful, of course, when they themselves, parents and teachers are all engaged together throughout the year. And you may find it helpful to sort of pick a time in the day, whether it's before school, after school, whatever works for you and your work or your home life schedule, to connect with your child about their learning. So sort of picking that time to discuss that on a daily basis will encourage your child to think of some of those things to chat with you about with this new experience that they'll be having. And finally, we also want families just to remember that patience is key. Teachers will always do their best to get back to you as soon as they can with any questions. And many teachers also share an email response time with families. For example, they might get back to you within 24 or 48 hours. And that's something to look out for, just to kind of pay attention to when you may be hearing back about some of those questions that you may have. So if you're wondering, like, what are a few quick tips to kind of get me through this new experience, we have a few for you to consider. So in summary, one is co-designing that learning space. Help your child make it their own to get them excited about this new learning experience. Another is to make sure your child is staying connected to, obviously, their new teacher and classmates online, but also helping them to maintain any relationships that they may be missing from their in-school experiences. As was mentioned, creating a co-creating a schedule with your child so that it works for them, and keeping it in kind of that place that's going to work for your family. So if you already have a calendar going on a bulletin board or a fridge, allowing your child to participate in that process of adding to that with their new schedule. Scheduling time to check in with your child, as I mentioned, whether it's in the morning or after school. And finally, we just want to emphasize it's always important to make sure that the students are becoming increasingly independent with sort of that Goldilocks rule. So we're not providing them so much support and checking in so much that they feel they aren't able to take risks, and also not, leaving them so much without our help and check-ins and support that they feel lost. So there's kind of that happy medium that you'll probably find with your child, and touching base with your child's teacher can definitely help you with this if you're kind of feeling unsure about how to broach that line.
So we asked some of our current online families what their advice was to new online families, and here are some of their words of wisdom that we felt captured the majority of answers. So to make sure that your child gets outside or gets some physical activity every day. So this is usually built into the schedule that the teacher sends out, but it's really important that the students are participating in those activities. Help your child be accountable and manage time effectively so that assignments get done on time. So normally the teacher is there in the classroom to help students along, but now that families are in the house with the students, they are going to need a little bit of that support, just like that Goldilocks rule Erin mentioned, not too much, but also not too little. And then these were sort of already said through some of our other slides, but things like setting up a work area and having all of your materials close by and getting ready for the day as if you're actually going to physical school to help keep your child on task.
So final thoughts before we wrap up is you should be getting a letter by Thursday. We hope from the teacher, just giving you some information, introducing themselves, hopefully letting you know what next week will look like. So please be on the lookout for that coming through your email sent to families. Another thing to note is your kiddos still belong to their home-based school. So if you have any questions, any concerns, please reach out to your admin. They still have access to the team there. So the CDA counselors, again, please go to your home-based school. We encourage you to stay with the emails that get sent out, because then you can stay in communication with them also. If your your child has a student support plan, please reach out again to your homeschool, the learning support team there, and your teacher is your main point of contact. Back to you, Barb.
Thank you, Allison. The middle school team is an absolutely incredible team, and I know they're looking really forward to working with all of your children and all of you. The information that is housed in these slides is available on Rocky View on their website. There's an RVS online badge button that you can check into, and resources for parents are held there. One of the most important pieces that I know everyone immediately wrote down was that tech support number. It is on Rocky View's website as well, and your teachers will be providing you with additional information to support your journey. I think, is this a little video, Allison?
Yes, it's a little like welcome.
We just want to thank everyone for popping in this evening to get just a little bit of information about what you're going into. We know that it's going to be amazing for you and your students. And if it's not, we'll work with you to make sure that it is. So have a wonderful evening. The webinar will be posted on RVS's website. We're not exactly sure quite where on the website yet, but it will be there. Thank you, everyone.
So before we go, team, there's just a couple of questions in the chat. I was trying to type really fast before we end, but I don't think I was able to get them. Will there be only two, with there being only 2 Zoom calls a day, will there only be 2 subjects covered a day? And I think the answer to that is no, but Barb, you can.
I will try to be the one that answers that. That's a minimum of 2 Zoom calls a day. And we are very aware in working with people who have been providing online programming for students for a number of years, that what we do not want to do is have our students sitting in front of Zoom cameras all day receiving instruction exactly in that way. We have smaller chunks of Zoom time, which is instructional time, and we want to use that to really optimize learning and balance that with learning in with some other formats. So there's hands-on learning, there's research that's being done. There's lots of different ways that teachers address the outcomes. They will not only be done through Zoom. In some circumstances, those Zoom calls are used to share what the expectations will be based on the learning that is done, to review, to have questions, and activities like that. So it's a little bit different.
And there's just one more question about the onboarding sessions. So I have held a few sessions yesterday, today, and I have 3 sessions tomorrow that schools were made aware of. There is a session at 9:15, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. If your child was not able to attend any of those sessions yesterday or today, they are welcome to attend tomorrow. The Zoom link is the same, and your principal or assistant principal will have that information. So even if it says grade 8 session and your kid is not in grade 8, that's totally fine. They can attend any one of those. So contact your homeschool principal to get that information. And there's also a question about textbooks. Will we need to pick up textbooks from our homeschool?
If your teacher has determined that textbooks will be used for that course, yes, those would be picked up from the homeschool. Arrangements would be made for that.
So
I think we have it.
yeah. That looks like all of our questions. All the questions have been answered for now. But if you have any more questions, reach out to your school principal. Oh, one more question. Can you send that last info once more, as my daughter didn't get any info on the session tomorrow? So please contact your principal, the principal that of the school your daughter is at right now. They have the information on those sessions. Any more questions?
Just a thank you for everything and for the orientation. Information about PATs and standardized testing would come out much later. Students who have learning support, connections through learning support, stay connected with their homeschool and with the team that has helped to develop any supports that students have through IPPs or additional kinds of specialized supports like that. Can we have the learning plan on Sunday? Sometimes teachers send out the learning plans a little bit early. Sometimes they send them out on Friday, but RVS's expectation is that they are sent Monday morning. Students in 5 to 9 use Moodle. Actually 5 to 12 use Moodle. And although they do complement with Google products as well.
Okay, it's 6:01, so I think we're ending just on time. Thank you to everyone, and this recording will be, the recording of the session will be available on the Rocky View website. Thank
Thank
you,
you. Have a good
everybody.
evening.